Agenda for Thursday, September 21st, 2023, held at 7 p.m. at the Lower Conference Room, 24 Wall Street, Peabody, Massachusetts. At this time, I'd like to suspend the regular meeting and enter into the continuation of the planning board for the overlay district amendment to the zoning ordinance. Please, is the letter Central Overlay District. Please accept this letter at my request on behalf of 535 Wall Street LLC to withdraw without prejudice and request an amendment of the zoning ordinance of the city of Peabody. You have a motion on that, please?
Chairman, I would move to receive a communication from Attorney John Peabody dated September 14th, requesting withdraw without prejudice his petition for a zoning change to the zoning amendment residential overlay district. Further, I will grant said withdrawal without prejudice.
You have a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. At this time, close the public hearing and eliminated from our agenda. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the 9/7/2023 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, we approve the minutes of the September 7th, 2023 meeting.
You have a second on that? Dr. Otto, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. A&R and land reports.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we were contacted, and I will unmute him in a second to speak as well. But we were contacted by the applicants, you remember, from 0 Newbury Street that filed an A&R, and letting me know now. Sam Alfronte from Solar Engineering had reached out to me and discussed with me about time lapses on recording of A&R plans that were endorsed. I told Mr. Malfronte that, please come in front of the planning board and explain the situation, and he is here. So, Sam, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We can. The floor is yours.
Okay, so just to give you guys a little background, we came before you guys in April, I believe, for the A&R. It was endorsed. And then we came before you in May or June with a site plan review. We received approval from you guys for the proposed coffee shop development. We've went through all of our permit approvals. It's taken a little bit of time to gather the special permit from the city council. And what has occurred is the A&R process was first, per the direction of the planning department. And the 6-month period that we can record the plan is coming up on its lapse time. It lapses on 10/6, I believe, October 6th. Our client is in the processing of purchasing the parcel from the current owner of the hotel, but he doesn't want to create an encumbrance on this property until he owns it. So he wants to basically transfer the ownership and file the A&R on the same day, just in case if financials or anything like that were to fall through. That's not the case. It's everything's looking positive, and but he just wants to go through it the correct way and the proper channels. So that's kind of why we're before you again, to get a re-endorsement of the A&R plan, so we can file it when he closes on the property.
At this time, any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll accept an amendment.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I would move an A&R, approval of an A&R plan of land in Peabody, Mass. Plan was prepared by Northeast Survey Consultants at Ferry Street, East Hampton, Mass. The plan was prepared for Solely Engineering. The plan is further identified as drawing number 22-013.1.EWG. The date on the plan is March 7th, 2023. The plan creates parcel A from land identified on assessors map 088, parcel 008X. Parcel A has an area of 0.702 acres, plus or minus. That's all I can give you.
We have a second on that.
Second.
Second, Dr. Otto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Sam, we'll sign the Mylar and all those
We'll sign it
forms,
after.
and yeah, we'll have it in City Hall for you to pick up.
Okay, that works. I can probably be by sometime next week. Appreciate it.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you,
Next
guys.
item on the
Have a good night.
Next item on the agenda is site building permit plan for 0 Prospect Street.
Mr. Chair, just before the applicant and his team gets up here, I've been in contact with Attorney Ankleys and the development team. They've been very responsive and helpful. We had a meeting with them about a week ago where we discussed, which is in your packets, their review that they received back from the peer reviewer, Tire and Bond, and in regards to their traffic on site. We had a really productive conversation with them where we discussed those. And at that time, we came up with the idea that they were working on a response sheet to those third-party review comments, many of which that they mentioned they could probably answer, which I'm sure they'll explain tonight. But the idea was that we explained to the team that they are more than welcome to, they're on the agenda, they're more than welcome to come before the board. I believe Attorney Yankees emailed me, and he has with him tonight his letter response to the peer review, as well as revised plans. These would be laid at. I did say that he could present it to the board for the board to accept, or the board can review it at their next meeting, but he does have the ability tonight to come and respond to that peer review comments that were placed in your packet. So Attorney Ankleys is here. I would think if the board does wish to use these documents, they would need to vote to accept these RLA ad. But again, Attorney Ankleys is here. The board has every right to either accept these as a laid ad or have them in your next packets. But I did ask Attorney Ankleys to come and respond to the peer review comments that were in your packet. And again, this is just the traffic peer review. We're still waiting on, I'm sure Attorney Ankleys will mention a couple other peer reviews either. So they're not here unless they are, but I would have to gander a guess that they're not here tonight to ask for approval, rather than just explain to you what the peer review has stated and their response.
We're kind of getting hit with this at the 11th hour. I'd like to read it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, if they want to receive this tonight or.
Well, and I explained that to the.
Sweet.
Yeah, John, and I explained that to Attorney Ankleys as well, that, the board can either wait to accept this, but, you had the peer review comments were placed in your packets. So I invited Attorney Ankleys to respond to those peer review comments that you had. And then I asked them to put it in writing as well, which is this in front of you. So he is here to answer any comments that you might have on the peer reviews that were in your packets received by Tire and Bond.
If I may suggest, we'll allow Attorney Ankleys to present, and we can perhaps go along with this new information we have.
If it is acceptable to the board, what I'd like to be able to do is just hit very quickly some highlights. I don't want to go through everything because I don't expect the members of the board to be able to read through this and consume it. But what I would like to be able to do is hit upon some of the highlights, high points of what we discussed with community development and with Plan 11 about a week and a half ago, I would say, and indicate to you some of the more important factors brought up by the peer reviewers. I don't expect it to take too much time at all. I do have with me tonight both Steve Brewacki from our jail company, who handled the engineering peer review, and I also have with me Michael Santos, who handled the traffic peer review. Michael Michael made some very, very interesting discoveries in his investigation of the traffic flow and situation at the intersection of Prospect Street and Mall. And I'd like to have them briefly, if at all possible, not go through the entire reports that you have in front of you, but to hit those highlights so that you have a good idea as you go through them in the future. And before the next meeting, hopefully, we'll be able to hit each one of the peer reviews. We're still waiting for Western Sampson on for two flow tests on both sewer and water. But the engineering has been complete, the traffic has been complete, and I'd like to have, as far as engineering concerned, Steve Gawarki hit some of these highlights, and I've asked them to be very brief and to hit only those items that we were able to discuss and which were in question with regard to peer review, so that hopefully that'll be viewed, and then Michael Santos from VHP will tell you what he had found in his discoveries and with regard to his investigation of the traffic controller and the intersection at Prospect Street in the mall, something that Kirk Bellavance was extremely concerned about, and you'll see that we've modified our plan to eliminate the right-in, right-out access along Prospect Street at Mr. Bellavance's request. We'd like to keep that if at all possible, but we understand his concern, and we have modified our plan to show you the alternative. So with that, I'd like to have Steve get up and
Good evening. For the record, Steve Blowacki with Argyle Collin Associates. If I may bring it back to the previous hearing, and I think a couple of the main points you may recall from the hearing are reflected in the traffic comments as well. And that's specifically, as Attorney Ankley's mentioned, the right-in, right-out. That was an issue of concern at our previous hearing, if you recall. And there was some discussions about, should we eliminate it, should we not? And an additional comment was about pedestrian connectivity down here. So I'll touch on those points, and then Mr. Santos can elaborate further on the traffic, the issues that were found up here. But in our discussions with Mr. Bellavance and Mr. Levin, we talked about the elimination of this. Some of the concerns we had were from a fire safety point of view, where we didn't want a dead-end condition. Mr. Bellavance, I understand, has spoken with the fire department, and they didn't offer any objections to closing that. So that was off the table, and we understood that concern. Another concern was one of operations in terms of removing trash and the like, and having this dead-end condition. So what you'll see, again, late ad that was put before you, a handful of exhibits. The first exhibit here was an illustration. Should we close this front right-in, right-out, and this again is up at that top corner, we want to illustrate that if we move this trash around a bit and create what we call in the business a hammerhead that allows trucks to back out, we think we can make this work. And we think that it would work. But again, I think that the drive from the folks with PEG, the applicant, would like to keep the right-in, right-out if we can. But again, we did work up a solution to come up with something that works in everyone's interest, if that is certainly the concern. Additionally, we looked at pedestrian connectivity. We also discussed that at the meeting that Mr. Levin mentioned that we had last week. And what we looked at, and there's a couple of moving parts associated with this, but I'll touch on briefly. We looked at down at the southern end of the site, providing a sidewalk across this T intersection currently over here. For reference, the bookstores down here and Macy's is off and over here. So our thought was, if we cross pedestrians into this parking area, they could travel through the parking area as they would if they got out of a vehicle in that parking area. And that would bring them to points in the mall, of course, for shopping and restaurants and the like, and creating that campus feel that I think was discussed in the previous hearing. and I will show you a larger view. That's all, again, also in your packet, a smaller version of this, where you can see this would be connected into, again, to bring you over to Macy's and tie this in with this feel of a campus, a campus approach. Finally, one of the questions or the comments that were brought up in the traffic peer review were about circulation for fire trucks and things of the sort. And we provided a simple fire truck diagram showing that, you could achieve access to the main entry of this. A fire truck can get in here, but there'd be some challenges backing out. But I'll remind everyone, there is very close service on all points, around, should there be a need to fight a fire in that location. Before I ask Mr. Santos to come up, the engineering peer review we have obtained that, and essentially it focuses just on the stormwater. There are no real comments to speak of that are any alarming for us. So essentially, there's no comments required on many of the, no responses required on many of the comments. There were merely items that were noted, with the exception of one or two that were related to test pits. But we would, at some point, we have to, because we're doing stormwater infiltration, we have to do test pits over here. But as we know, that's an active parking area right now, so it's a scheduling thing. But we're confident of what we showed, and we can easily do the test pits at a point in time and get what we believe a very clean memo from the folks over at Horsley Witten. With that, I'd like to ask Michael Santos to come up and discuss traffic.
Steve, Michael Santos with BHB. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here tonight. Thank you for the response to the peer review. I know it's late notice. What I'm going to do is just kind of hit on some of the main points. The main points with our responses to Ty and Bond's peer review. This one general thing. Ty and Bond, did note that the study was conducted in a professional manner, consistent with standard traffic engineering practices. The comments that they provided, that they gave us, are broken down into various topics. One of the topics is just clarification and requests for additional information like backup technical data, which we provided in there. There were a lot of comments. I'd say the bulk of the comments were related to the site plan, which was just discussed, so I'm not going to really talk about that too much. They did ask for an updated traffic analysis. So the original study that we did just looked at the intersection of Prospect Street and the North Shore Mall driveway. As you probably all know, that there is a second signal down at this location, which was not included in the original study. Both of these traffic signals, they operate on the same traffic signal controller, which means if you go out there, you can see the box right there. That there's like basically a computer in there that controls the operations of both intersections. So, after our meeting last Wednesday, I was able to go out into that signal controller and just pull out the traffic signal timings. That was something that Ty and Bond had asked us to do, is to get the actual traffic signal timings to make, instead of estimating them out in the field. So I did go in there. We were able to pull out the traffic signal timings. We updated our traffic analysis, which is included in that packet that you just received. In general, the analysis shows, for impact analysis, the hotel itself is not going to have any major significant impact where you're going to need additional capacity, or any real signal changes there. But one thing that I did notice when I was in this controller, and this is probably more for city engineer to know, is that there is, these are all the traffic signals operated by detection. I'm not sure what type of detection is there right now. It's probably loop detection embedded in the pavement. But two of the detectors are malfunctioning right now. So on Prospect Street eastbound, and then there is another detector. I think it's for this driveway coming southbound. They're both showing failures, which causes serious, issues for traffic operations. Essentially, what happens is it's going to give each phase green the maximum amount of time. So you could have a green signal showing for no traffic, which means that all of the other approaches are red. So this is kind of a city maintenance issue. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then there was also another phase in there, which I feel like had a incorrect timing for, the amount of traffic volume that was coming through. So one of the recommendations in the response is that, I'm not sure who would be responsible for this, but it really needs to be investigated further. It's like what's causing the malfunctioning detection, and making sure that the traffic signal timings are all correct. I think that's something that probably, DPW or the city engineer would have to go out and, the city signal contractor to figure out. I don't know what's happening. All that I know is that it's malfunctioning. Which, could be a cause of some of the existing traffic issues you see at the signal, right now. And from what I've heard is that there is some congestion issues on Prospect Street, and, just fixing that might help clear up a lot of the issues as well. So that's something that I did look at, and it's also noted in that package that you received. So, and also we reran the analysis, assuming, this option here where there's no right in, right out. So essentially, instead of having vehicles enter the right in, right out driveway, which was, shown on the previous plan, those vehicles would now, filter through these two traffic signals. And again, we think that where the site's located, a lot of the traffic is not even going to use Prospect Street. It's going to come in through other driveways that serve the North Shore Mall. I think in our study, we were probably a little bit conservative. We assigned 60% of the traffic through the signal. In reality, it'll probably be less. I think if you're using a GPS, you're probably going to get off of 128 and come up through the mall. So that's the gist of the response letter that you have in front of you. And you sift through, you'll notice a lot of the comments kind of reference the plans to be provided, because they are related to the site plans. So we'll be submitting that you have in front of you electronically tomorrow, so it can be distributed properly. Thank you.
Have any questions from the board? Dr. Otto?
This is a question more on layout than on traffic management. But I don't disagree with Kurt that right in, right out there's a lot going on at that point. And so stopping it off might be a better idea. But I'm wondering, is it possible to punch through to the bank the same way you've done here, so that if you're driving along here looking for a space and you get to here, you don't have to retrace your steps, you can just cut out and do it again?
That's a very good question. I think one of the challenges with that is an agreement with the bank. So, obviously, because we don't own that property, we'd have to enter into agreement. This right here, as I understand it, maybe Attorney Ankeles could expand upon this, but I don't believe there's a formal agreement for this right now. I believe it's a gentleman's agreement about this, with this driveway. So I don't know that there's even anything formalized for this. We'd have to do the same. My only concern about that is it would impact some parking along here, minor bit. And also, you may cause a condition where basically people are waiting to come out of the bank and they're trying to get into the queue to get out. But I do understand the importance of linking these driveways. We see this in other more main arteries. That said, we've always felt that there wasn't enough volume in here to sort of trigger that. So that volume may be minimal, to your point.
This is something you'd be willing to take a second look at?
We could speak with the applicant, that would.
Dr. Otto, the existing condition, or the existing situation now with Rockland, that we would, as previously agreed with Richard Gagliano, who was the CEO of East Boston Savings Bank when it was located there. There was a gentleman's agreement between the mall and East Boston, nothing in writing, and I know that sounds a little bit unusual between Goliaths like East Boston and Simon Properties, but they got along. Mark Whiting and Dick Gagliano, a good friend of mine, also got along very well, and this served both the bank and the mall well. and they've left it undocumented. We've indicated to the owners of Rockland Trust that we had no intention of closing it off. It serves both parties well in that fire, if we don't have a right in, right out here, fire can come up here and have access to the northerly side of the hotel for purposes of safety and fire prevention. That said, however, we've always felt that if we were able to address the site problems of a right in, right out from this location here, by moving the right in, right down, that we could probably help address some of the concerns that people have had, and also the discovery of the fact that the cabinet and controls and locators, traffic locators, are malfunctioning. Tells us that the pinch that Kurt Bellarmine was concerned with, the traffic pinch with cars backing up here and here, was a result of the failure of the system. And as Michael pointed out, when that fails, it goes back to the maximum, so that if you sit here in time, the red, green signal north and south on Prospect Street, which I have done many times. I think you all know I live right down the street here on Wheatland, and I've sat there, and because of this malfunction, it goes almost 1 minute and 15 seconds. So that complaint that we had from Kurt during our discussions was that traffic was backing up there, both north and south. But again, that's due to the failure. Now, when we first set up the new entrance and the lights here, quite some time ago, there was an agreement that we would turn over, by we, I mean Simon, operation and maintenance of the lights and control as need be to the city. Obviously, no one has made access to the cabinet and done what Michael did and discovered that it was malfunctioning. I think perhaps this might be something that we could offer as mitigation in connection with our current request here. Maybe we can go in there and see if we could get people to correct the malfunctioning and put the cabinet and the controls in proper operating order. I hate to throw that on the table without talking to Simon, but I believe that might be something that we could do. And I think that if I recall, there was some members of the board who were concerned about the lack of access and egress right in, right out on Prospect Street. And I think you'll find that if we're able to eliminate some of the pinch, the buildup going north and south, that the number of people using the right in and right out, very, very small if you look at the analysis. And we could possibly move the right in, right out, so that the sight distance problem between the right in, right out and the driveway at Rockland Trust could be resolved. You might want to consider that. I don't know whether community development or the city planner would be in favor of that. I don't think they are, but I think the discovery of the fact that the backups are due to malfunctioning of the gives us pause here and maybe rethink what we're doing. But we, as Steve has pointed out to you, we've come up with an alternative. I don't think it's pretty. If you take a good look at the hammerhead that we have to put in, we have a trash truck coming in, backing up, going back in, and then driving out. But it works, and we're not pressed. In other words, we don't absolutely positively need the right in, right out. We'd be very happy, if fixing the controller and everything solves the backup, and we think it will. And I think if you read through the traffic study, you'll see that there's no real concern about the number of people who normally might take that right in are being pushed out here. I don't think that there's a large number, and I think the review confirms that. So it's an issue, but it's not something that can't be resolved.
And the other.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of issues. First of all, I was in the previous meeting that had an issue with that right in, right out. I really don't think that that's a good idea because it's so close to the other intersection. But one thing I've noticed is on the northerly side, and I don't know all the logistics, but why can't you just put a driveway all the way down? Just go all the way,
Through here?
no, go down. Yeah.
Oh,
on
there is
the
a
lot.
driveway here.
Yeah,
This
you
is
got,
rock.
no, on the property, right there. Why don't you just continue that down all the way, then you got a loop all the way around.
I think what you have there is you have a topographical difference. You have come down quite a bit, and you'd have to put in a wall, a retaining wall there. And we would not have the pervious landscaping setback required by the ordinance. As I said, we can work with the alternative.
I think that my only opinion is that could be an option where you get the loop. And, you don't have, the back, you don't have the hammerhead.
Yeah.
You're just coming right around. It's just logistic. Yeah, if you've got to build some walls and stuff, I don't know, maybe you need so much green space. I don't know. We're brainstorming here, that's all.
No,
So it's just something to look at. Well, why, just do the entire loop. People can come right out. You basically, the most you lose is one maybe two
Simple
parking
fact that we have
spaces.
transformers and trash pickup there.
Yeah.
And
Again,
that again
something to
makes
look
it
at.
very difficult.
Is it confirmed with the fire department that you can get a ladder truck through that loop, that front loop, that circular?
Yes.
We use the larger truck, the larger vehicle template that Peabody has to run that loop across
Yeah,
the front.
a building that height, you're gonna need a ladder truck in there.
Yeah, that's the.
That is, okay,
that's
that
the-
is a ladder truck, okay.
The profile for that
yeah.
one.
I'll also mention that we discussed that with Captain Dallin from the fire department at the initial construction review committee meeting, and how Captain Dallin explained it is that because they have the Rockland Trust driveway as well, they could station a vehicle, the ladder truck on that
Oh, and reach
driveway
over.
and reach over and access if need be.
And then just one final little note is that walkway that you have, and I know this is just a rendition, but you have a clump of trees at the corner of the walkway before you're crossing Essex Center Drive. So you might just want to be aware of the tree placement there so that there's no obstruction to the people walking on the walkway. That's all. Because this rendition shows maybe there's a little.
Yeah, that's a very good point. In the analysis for this, for looking at the pedestrian connectivity, we would have to look at sight lines and
Right.
ensure that there's not a tree.
And I know this is just a rendition between
Yeah.
now and then, it's different.
Any other questions from the board? Wasn't there a traffic signal or pedestrian traffic signal proposed for the crosswalk?
There was, when it was located over here and we were going to go down here, but what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to use, make this serve two purposes here. Get across here for the additional parking that we may need. And you're going to have stop signs here and a stop sign here and a stop sign here. So, we probably could put a pedestrian activated thing, but with a four-way or three-way stop there, I don't think it's really necessary, but it can be done.
And the discovery of the malfunctioning control is, it can be a big deal. I sat at that light last Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. and I waited. And I waited and I waited. So normally in the old days, that time of the day, that would become flashing, right?
In other words, it was designed originally to make traffic flow, and so that you get so many cars in and so many cars out, but when it doesn't work, all it does is back up north-south. So, we were able to get in there. By the way, what we do is, the keys for the cabinet are with the police department has access and egress to it, but we're not in control, but we will work with the police department and the city board, to see to it that it is correct.
The appropriate departments have been notified or?
This is the first I'm hearing of it this evening, so I'm actually emailing.
Would you share that?
Yeah, the police and DPS.
Any other questions from the board? You requesting a continuance of this?
Yes, I'd like, Mr. Chairman, if we could, first of all, I'd like to thank you for hearing me tonight and going over. It's been a slow process up to now, and we've had to progress the second process we can. Hopefully, at the next meeting, we'll have peer review response from Weston and Sampson regarding water pressure and fluoride. I think those are the only two reviews that we need or that we're waiting for. And we would like to be able, prior to that meeting, to communicate with Mr. Levin and Kurt Bellavance and review all of the responses and hopefully be able to answer any and all of your questions at the next meeting. And hopefully incorporate as a result of what the feedback we have tonight, incorporate the changes in the plan to come up with a final site plan for your consideration. Again, thank you for your time tonight, and I would ask for continuance to your next meeting.
October 5th.
Yes.
Quite right. Move to grant petitioner an extension of time to the next meeting of October 5th, 2023.
Have a second?
Second.
Dr. Otto, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 54 Prospect Street.
It's Attorney Kelty who's outside. If somebody wants to, Steve, do you mind, or
Oh, definitely.
somebody grab this? Steve, I'm sorry, Mr. Santos. I'm gonna just forward your information to our DPW department, just because you were out there and saw it, just in case if they have any questions about the malfunction. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, all that I saw, it was at on the screen, it said F, which means it's a failure.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening. You need to, somebody will need to diagnose it a little bit further to figure out what's
And this
actually
is
happening.
on the Essex Lane side, or is this on the Prospect Street?
They're both on the same controller, so that's the other issue. It could be either one.
Okay, and this is the sensor was reading F?
Yeah, there were two that were reading F, and when that happens, really what happens if the phase is timed, say it says like it can go up to 40 seconds.
Yeah.
It'll just always go to that every single time, whether there's a car there or not.
Okay.
That's what's happening. Yeah.
Thank you, gents.
Mr. Kelton. 54 Prospect.
54 Prospect.
Yeah.
Yes. I had occasion to speak with Mr. Langley this week, and there was a time a couple of weeks ago wherein we felt that Bob was not going to send it out for peer review. But lately, during the review of the folks that just left, he is going to send us out for some limited peer review. He will have suggested to me he will have later this week. I'm sorry, early next week. He'll have me those proposals. We will sign them, and I'm hopeful we'll be able to turn everything around for your October 5, 6 meeting. your October, first meeting in October.
So you're requesting a entry for October fifth?
Yes.
So move.
And would it be possible for me, to
Just-
get electronic set?
We just need a vote on that. Mr. Ford
Second.
moved it.
Second.
That's for an extension of time.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And
You want the Zero Newberry Street plan?
No, not Zero Newberry, but,
The
the,
mall,
guys that just left.
the new plan?
Yeah, just so that we're aware of.
Yeah, we'll get we have timestamp and we'll add it into the record.
next item on the agenda is 47 Tremont Street, map 75, lot 164.
Yep, what we'd like to do is kind of follow up my presentation of last meeting in which I tried to explain a few items, but didn't do a very good job, I would admit. And I think that Chris has forwarded over some plans electronically that we might be able to use tonight.
Yeah, so I was questioning about that. So those plans are in regards to 45 Tremont Street, which is
What
completely,
is?
yeah, which is a completely separate issue.
That seems to be dragging us down on
It does, but I mean, you sent me the plans today. You're seeking minor modification on this, so I mean, this is up to the board.
Yeah, not necessarily.
No,
that-
not tonight.
Not today,
Yeah.
okay.
What
you
we'd like
wanna
to do
present
is
it?
Yeah.
show you how those work. Provide them the information that we're able to get from those, which is helpful. Many of the members have been saying, well, you're not, and when I speak with Mr. Langley, Bob says, I'm being asked to approve something which is new, and we're not even through the through the other things. And I think that the set that Chris provided you today, if we could talk about them, I think it moves us forward.
It'd be up to the board to accept it as a laid out or not.
Where
Or
are
to, we only have a digital copy.
We can't accept what we
Would-
don't have. right?
Yeah, well, I have the digital copy, which I can share,
I
but
certainly would welcome any commentary. Attorney.
We can put it up on the screen.
So if we can put them on the screen,
We need a vote
that
to vote it on the
accept the
screen.
lay
You're
ad?
accepting it, right?
yeah, I guess it gets kind of confusing if by me showing it on screen, does that count as e-acceptance or not?
So we have to.
I guess, so it'd be up to the board's will. Do you have the plans on a big sheet with you?
I do.
You could also just present them, much like the other counselor, or much like the other applicants you stated were.
Yeah, they're a little cumbersome, but I certainly can. I'd like to. Put them up. We'll do that. So there, your memo of whatever date, there are 9 items that we gleaned off of it. And-
Sorry, to what Mr. Mello is explaining, that they have filed a special permit application before the city council for the use of a self-storage facility. I provided the city council with a memo outlining certain things that were missing from the plan and that did not match the original plan. This is we wrote a memo regards to 47 Tremont Street, which is the front parcel, which they are seeking in front of the planning board this evening, a site plan review, or in front of the planning board for a site plan review for proposed self-storage. That use is not by right in that area, so they need to seek a special permit. I wrote a memo to the city council outlining the issues that we had brought up at construction review, which was the lack of continuity between the set of plans that they had submitted. But at that same memo, I outlined that there was issues with the rear property that had not been resolved yet. So that is the memo that Mr. Mello is referring to, which could get kind of confusing here. So it's mixing a little bit of, as many of you know, 45 Tremont Street was approved by this board back in 2019. It was then amended and approved again in 2021 for correct me if I'm wrong, it's like a basketball facility, indoor recreational facility.
That's 45.
That's 40, yes, so that's what I'm trying, is that back
The
parcel
original
45
approval
Tremont
was
Street.
numbered 47.
Exactly, so this is the rear property now that we're talking about, that was approved.
Well, not,
Yeah, this piece here.
yeah.
Yeah, that was approved by the board back in 2019.
Yeah, actually, the whole thing was approved, all 3 buildings. That has lapsed. That since got renewed and built, and we're stuck with this that isn't, it's not stuck. We're still working on this that isn't finished.
Exactly, and while we're out on site, we noticed that there was a handful of items that were either not built or built differently from what the original plan had shown. So we have asked Attorney Kelty and Mr. Mello to provide the board with a plan that shows the differences, or I know it's still under construction, but showing what they aren't going to build or what they are going to build and what's different. And then they would have to come in front of this board. It'd have to be posted on the agenda and ask for a minor or try to explain to the board why it's a minor modification to the original plan that was submitted.
Agreed. And it's really, it's a lot simpler than Jack and I are making it out to.
Yeah.
They're,
Well, no, I just, and part of the reason that the place is such a mess is that this never got built. And so Bob sold it to Ahmad Farhat, due to some personal financial, problems. Farhat never went forward. Now Bob is going to build, something very similar in terms of size and bulk, et cetera. But, he'll take it over, and that's how we're going to get to finishing this project. So the point this evening is to try to show the board where we are, what we're doing, and Kristen, take it from here.
okay. So you gave us a memo that has got nine items I've gleaned out of it. And they all have to do with, even though this was a global permit for 3 buildings, Mr. Bonfiglio's building is out and done. This permit is lapsed, but the permit for this building is basically on the whole thing. So we've got 9 items that are either haven't been completed, are different, or I guess those 2 things. So
Sorry, just for some context too to this, if you remember when this plan was originally submitted to the planning board, it showed 3 buildings in 2019. At that meeting, it was, this project has been going on for a really long time. It was noticed that there were still some issues in the rear of the property, which is this large building in the back you see now. At that meeting, the front parcel, which originally was supposed to be Ahmad, Mr. Farhat, was going to build a convenience store there.
Correct.
That it was, I remember the board bifurcated that the site utilities would be approved on site because you need this infrastructure in place to build the front building. They got the approval to build the front building with the idea that they would come back for this rear parcel. They then came back for that rear parcel and got that site plan approved as well.
sorry, agreed, no problem. So what we have is, this is the landscaping lighting sheet from the set that was approved for this building here. The plan I put up over there is sheet 2 of the proposed site development permit plans for the front building. It is an as-built of the entire place. It's about a couple of months old now, but that essentially is what's going on. So the 9 items that I gleaned from your memo, item 1 is that this curbing, item 1 here, was not, that island and curving entry were not built. That's paved over, and it's 3 spaces. And the comment is the proposed curbing was eliminated to accommodate 3 additional parking spaces that the applicant will request a modification of the site plan. In no circumstances are Jack and I advocating for any of these modifications. There's only 3 of them. I'm just telling you what they are, and that can still be
Eventually,
built.
he's gonna have to come back before the board.
Oh,
He's
no,
gonna
we
have
don't
to-
want him
yeah,
back.
he's gonna have to file this with the board. You guys are gonna have to
Right.
accept this. So
But I just want to get these 9 things out as to how they were there. I think if nothing else, it makes Mr. Langley a little more comfortable as we go forward on the front building. Because he keeps saying you didn't do all this stuff. And he's not wrong.
yeah, I mean, I think the back building needs to be solidified.
Yep.
With exactly what needs to happen before anything gets approved on the front building.
The second item in your list is the dumpster. The applicant was advised to provide a plan that shows the location of the dumpster.
Now, this is for the front parcel. Sorry, this is getting really confusing, everyone, because there was a memo that was written.
This isn't the back memo?
The dumpster was brought up at
But
the
I
construction review committee
And
meeting.
the dumpster is right here that's supposed to serve. That building is not there, and there's a temporary dumpster sitting over here. That
Mhm.
still has to be built, and that is meant to serve both of these buildings. That was my original design. So the dumpster, which is not built yet, still can be built, it's there and will be built. it's incorporated in the front request. Item 3 is that we're requested to submit an as-built plans consistent of what's out there today. That is sheet 2 of the proposed development for the front building. So that does exist and it has existed for a while. The next item is the sewer line. The applicant installed the sewer line in the wrong area of the easement and needs to realign the sewer. That is correct. The applicant did not build the sewer in the center of that easement as required, and a couple of the manholes are not at the right grade. There's a separate sheet over here, I ran out of places to put it, that we prepared a couple of months ago in May. And it's been submitted to Will Politz, and it is the redesign and relocation and reconstruction of the sewer line from Tremont Street to a point about over here. And that has to be built. My understanding is that Mr. Dinisco is $100,000 with the city for that work. So that will get.
Where's the sewer going now?
The sewer was built, our sewer was going to go out here to Webster Street. In the design, the engineering department asked, could you bring your sewer over here? And then could you come up here and build a connection to the Tremont Street sewer that will act as an overflow, because the Tremont Street sewer is in a belly. They've had some problems with it. And what we did is we caught a manhole at the low spot, allowed it to come out through here. It doesn't do anything right now, but in a bad situation, it would function and help the city through its system. Unfortunately, we'll just say the contractor, whoever it may be, I don't know who's involved. It is not built right. We did an as-built. It has to be fixed. They got $100,000. They got to do it.
And the problem is that it's not centered in the easement, and as such, it's too close. The actual location of the sewer is too close to the building.
And it's like within 6
So
feet
we're
of the
probably
building. and it
gonna
should-
move the sewer and modify the easement.
That's correct. And that's what the new plan shows. And that seems.
So now the new easement will go around the building and the sewer will as well in the middle of that easement.
And it's written in the memo that was forwarded to me in response to the memo that I provided, but it's stated as well that you have $100,000 bond that held by held by the Department of Public Services for this.
For that. So
Good
that's,
thing.
yeah, you know what? It is a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, then, I'm sitting here looking foolish. Item 5 is that parking islands were shown on the approved plan and were not built. And if I missed something here, if I don't have what you.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't prepared for you to present
Yeah.
this memo just
And-
because this was for the city council and this is for kind of the rear lot in regards to we're presenting on 47. I get that it all has to do with the whole site because it is kind of one large site, and when it's eventually all built out, it's all gonna look, I mean, it's all gonna have to access and focus as one site. And I've mentioned this many times before. I don't think any approval should be given on the front side until the back side is completely solidified with what is actually happening out there and not happening. But yeah, I get there's
My own point is if I interpreted something that isn't what you meant.
no, yeah, I mean, we were out there, we saw a lot of those parking islands, actually not a lot,
Yeah,
all of those parking islands
Item
were
5 is
completed.
these
or
islands
built.
here. And nothing over here has been built because this portion of the paving has not been constructed because this is the area of the sewer that's got to be redone. And we have some pervious paving in there that isn't built yet. So that portion, when that's built, these islands would be constructed. They have
And the
ability-
wall that's back there that's being built,
The wall is right here.
okay,
And again, that's the next, one of the items is this landscaping here. So we'll get to that. Item 6 is the landscaping area abutting the rear building was not constructed as approved on plan. That's this little island here. Currently, there's the curbing comes like this and goes over, and there's some mechanicals here. That will get, I say will get built. I'm not building it myself, so I'm gonna tell you that the ability to build this still exists, nothing impedes it, and it should be done. The curbing should go in, that landscaping can be put in. 7 is the main entrance to the building. It was not constructed in the area where it was approved on the plan. That's this building here. Our proposed entrance was right here. When the building got built and all the courts were in and I guess you'll call it the business end of whatever they do, pickleball, tennis, basketball, ended up over here. The other plan over there shows it. They built the main entrance right here. And this did not get built. So that would be something that would be, if we come back for modification, would be considered something that we could ask to modify. Whether it's a meaningful thing or not, that Drew brought it up and he's correct. Didn't get built there, got built there. 8 is the landscape areas on the western side of the building are not constructed as approved on the plan. That's all this landscaping here. This, as you said, is being worked on right now. Nothing is done up here because we still have to fix the sewer. And I really don't think we should be doing any landscaping here until that building is built. So.
And the wall was removed right there as well, right? Are you rebuilding a retaining wall there?
This wall was built.
That wall failing.
Everybody keeps saying that, or everybody keeps asking that. I've asked my client, who says he's talked to the building inspector. Mr. Langley brought up the same question. It's a interlocking gravity block wall, large ones, ready rock, big monsters. It's got ragweed all over. I said to Mr. Niska, do you think you could cut the ragweed off? Because it's a good looking wall. Nobody has said that it's failing anywhere.
Well, I noticed a bulge in the wall in the property up above the credit union. Had some.
This wall?
Had
There's,
some.
there's another wall holding their fences that Bob has been.
Well,
doing.
to me, I'm not an engineer, but it seems the land is on the move. So.
I'll take a better look at it. But it is a question that keeps coming up.
And secondly, if I may, and Roy brought this up the last meeting, and I was glad he did, that the wall for hold back that sandbank down by the Haven Mahunga. Is any progress being made on that?
I've not been down there this week. My understanding that the guy building the wall was like packing his stuff up. I assumed he was packing up because he was finished.
Okay.
Do you know any more of that?
I know that the commissioner has been down there several times on that sandy portion that's down behind the Haven. Yes, that portion down there. He spent a lot of time down there observing the construction technique. He suggested to me that they make and he made the same suggestion in the field, that when they're making cuts, they be smaller than 18-foot cuts, because the sandy content behind it just comes pouring out. So I know only that the commissioner has been on site, made a number of recommendations, and I would hope and expect that they're following those recommendations. But the wall is continuing, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The last time I was there, this portion was built and quite a good portion here. That was about 10 days ago. So I was in, the conversation was going on in the background that the form guy was getting X, Y, and Z. I thought he might be done and leaving. So we'll find that out. And there's only one other item. This corner of the building, item 9, this parking lot was supposed to come right back from here to there. In the field, it actually bumps out a little bit and comes around. It's bigger, and it was enlarged to accommodate the request of the engineering department was to move a proposed hydrant into that island, and also we ended up with a pole that went in that island and the ancillary stuff that goes with it. So we ended up making it bigger. It doesn't affect the amount of parking. It doesn't really affect circulation because this was quite wide to begin with.
You're also missing in between that island on that side, you're missing that like break in the parking as well. I believe you actually built a manhole where it's supposed to go.
You don't know what you mean.
And on that side of the keep going down the other side, keep going in between the two red dot, that guy. Unless that's been built.
No, that's not there.
Yeah.
So that must be what you meant with these islands here, meaning that also.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think you have well, not you, but I think that applicant has built a manhole where that potentially was supposed to go.
Okay,
So that could be an issue.
but yeah, so we either,
And I see they're working on the end triangle. Sorry, the one that's, that one. I see they poured the concrete for that looking on.
okay, well, I guess they're gonna.
I guess at least as of Friday, July 28th, they had it looking.
So again, coming back for our meeting after whatever modifications, that might be one of them. And if we can use all the parking we can get.
So just to lay out what I foresee the process being with the planning board is I would say that the applicants here file this as an official request for modification before the board. The board would then have this to review, provide comment on. They would have to come back, give this presentation again. The board now would have more time to review this and provide their own comments as well, discuss this. The board would have to either vote to accept or deny any of these modifications. We'd have to put that on record. I would then say that the 47 Tremont Street, which is undergoing peer review, or it sounds like you might not need peer review now, or you might need peer review.
Oh,
on
no,
47.
we're undergoing.
It sounds like then that kind of frees up for ability for the board to make action when those peer reviews get back. I really would advise the board not to vote on the front parcel until the rear parcel, the one we were just discussing, has been solidified and with what is actually happening out there, and confirm with what is happening out there. I'm gonna ask building department as well to provide a memo to the board with maybe an update on what has been happening out there as well.
So,
And I will say, sorry, just one more thing, just because on the top of my mind. The new plans that you're submitting, do they show the continuity that we're looking for? I know that at the construction review, we had brought up that some of the plans show on one page something, and then on the next page, it doesn't show it.
This is on.
47,
This building or that building?
talking about the proposed, the one in front of us, the 47, 45, the storage, the proposed storage facility.
Any idea what that was?
Well, and some.
I'll review the whole set.
Yeah, I mean, we had a construction review meeting.
Yeah.
And that if you look at the plans that are submitted to the board, as you work through them, there's items that are not shown continuously throughout the plan.
Okay.
So that was things we were looking for. The trash was also, that comment was made for the front parcel. That was brought up by the health department for your storage facility, and they had asked and said, we need to see where this trash is supposed to go.
All right, if you think of anything that is germane to that non-continuity and let me know, that would help, but I will have gentlemen who drew the plans go through it and make sure. Sometimes things show up on one sheet, grading and design, and don't show up maybe a landscaping type thing, but if there's something that
I
doesn't.
mean, it's the biggest issue is that
Sure.
like your landscaping area is with the front island that you are proposing on the proposed storage. Which this does not really help us because this is the convenience store.
Right, but it's probably not much different. Might be small, well, this one's pretty
It's
small.
actually much different on the
Okay.
edge that I'm looking at. It doesn't show the island on the landscaping plan, so you can't tell what's
Alright.
actually going on
Alright,
in the
And
island.
I can definitely look for that.
You can't see the curbing.
is that the,
No,
no,
no, that's what goes to a point. I'm sorry, there's just too many projects that it got bifurcated into three. It got difficult for the board. And we're trying to keep it together. Trying to make it come back together so it's easily seen. And I know it's not easy because Mr. Bonfiglio took that and built his. We expected this convenience store to be done and finished, and we're picking up the remains of it. So.
Dr. Otto, you have a question?
I did. I wanted to ask about the timing of the reconstruction of the sewer line and if that is dependent on us voting for a modification of it. That is to say, can you not go forward with that work until we theoretically approve a modification of it?
I don't believe that the sewer, any of the other requests that we're doing has anything to do with the sewer, because we've agreed with the engineering to reconstruct it and move the easement. I don't think that's.
So it's not part of this
I don't
discussion
think
per
so.
se.
They were
I mean,
used to build.
If you wanted to make it, I wouldn't argue with you.
The project was originally approved with the sewer in the position it was supposed to be in. So
Right.
you guys have already actually approved it. It just was not built there. So now it's
Gonna build it according to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
plan.
Oh, okay, I see.
So they're not modifying its, well, they modified its location and they now
Right,
have to
we will.
modify it to
Essentially,
its real.
We're modifying to put it back where it really should be.
Exactly.
for the
Okay,
approved
I see. Yeah, I'm not gonna second guess engineering, obviously.
Me neither. All right.
Any other
So-
questions from the board?
so I'd like to be able to come back for modification on October 5.
So what you would do is file plans minor
Yeah.
modification plans, showing us.
highlighting what it is.
I would
we-
give us exactly this plan, highlight every discrepancy. I would look at whatever was originally approved, and then I would go out there and say to yourselves, all right, this is not approved, or this was not built. And then maybe even I mean, I would also, it's totally up to you, but I would give us maybe a timeline too on when things are gonna get built, so we know, and that, the board can approve if they so choose a minor modification plan, sign that plan and submit it to the building department so that that is the plan that will work. And I mean, explain why things didn't get built, why they got built the way they did, and what the actual plan is here.
It sounds like one of them
Okay,
actually is being built.
so,
Didn't realize.
so that letter in which I asked for, to be on the agenda for modification should include the items that I'm asking to be modified
Exactly.
for clarity, and then accompanied by a plan that
Marked
makes that clear as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so that step, I hope we will be able to accomplish, because there are some things that are not done, but will be done, so we won't ask for modification. In other words, if something that should be out there is not out there, but we do intend to build it, we will not bring that to you as a modification.
I would though highlight that and explain to you that this is being built. It's not.
These are
out there
That's
right
fine,
now.
right.
Yeah,
That's fine.
A phase on when it's
but-
gonna happen.
In order for the whole place to get done, I gotta put Bob in a position to buy back that front piece. And in order for him to be able to finance all, the rest of the project, building the out front, I've got some time constraints, so I'm gonna try to push our peer review of that front piece to a point where we could have conditional approvals perhaps, so that I can get my special permit.
That will have to be a discussion, I think, with community development and building and stuff.
Yeah, that's
about How comfortable we would feel on that.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman,
I mean,
just
without
like-
any money, nothing's gonna get done. So,
I just want to bring up again what Dr. Oz brought up as far as, I think you did, as far as all these modifications here. Are we
Yeah.
looking to get all that approved before we move to the front building? It sounds like you want to do both at the same time.
somewhat, yeah,
I'm kind of leaning towards we should do all these modifications. Now you
but I
could,
can't get the front building really approved until I've accomplished peer review, so.
I would have to believe you're gonna get to the October 5th meeting before you get your peer review back.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
I would guarantee that
I-
peer review is at
yeah,
least another
I
couple.
see that.
Yeah.
That's a real good bet.
I would guarantee
I mean,
that the
let's-
peer reviews are another.
I mean, my
month
best
away.
case scenario would then be to be in a position on the 5th for my modifications to be discussed, that we all understand what needs to be done continually. And then maybe on the 19th, we can talk about, and hopefully I've got enough done and I've got peer reviews back. I understand, I'm gonna have to work hard with Mr. Langley so that he's comfortable where we are in that.
And that was my point, cart before the horse, we'll do all this modification here and then the next
Yeah.
meeting, yeah. I'm glad that,
Yeah.
So you're requesting a continuance to the October 5th meeting.
After all that, yes,
No.
that too.
It seems to me we should have accepted this, because you're asking for something that we're gonna continue that we haven't accepted into the record, so it seems to me that we
Right
should.
now, he's looking for.
No,
an
we
extension
got
of
what we
time.
wanted tonight.
Yeah,
I mean.
Yeah, but you're asking for a continuance on the presentation you just did.
No,
right?
I'm asking.
He's asking for a continuance on 47 Trace.
Oh, okay.
So there's a,
Okay,
yeah, that's the site
okay,
plan in front
got
of
it, got
everybody.
it.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to allow the petitioner an extension of time to, is it October 5th?
Yep.
October 5th. And Jack, while you're here, you probably already got my vibe on this. I have a little problem giving them a green light for the front parcel with so many things amiss.
I understand.
The rear
That's
parcel.
what I'm trying to bring
All
along.
right, so.
We need a second.
Do you have a second?
Oh, second, sorry, falling
All
down on
those
the
in
job.
favor?
That's what I got from 98.
Next item on the agenda is,
Thank you.
appointment,
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Kelty, 42 Franklin Street.
And I would respectfully withdraw that request for an appointment.
Chairman, I have a written communication here from Attorney John Kelty dated September 14th in regards to 42 Franklin Street.
No, that was asking for an appointment. Isn't it?
Yeah, he sent a letter. He wanted
Yeah.
to discuss this application on the front of the ZBA.
No action.
I didn't ask for, did I give you a written continuance?
No.
No.
an appointment.
Yes.
You had written a letter to the
So I
board.
had the appointment and now, all right.
You're gonna withdraw.
There's no need for a vote. He was
No
gonna
need
chat
for a
with the
vote.
board and then
He's
he
withdrawing.
was deciding not to.
No more chatting.
Nothing like that.
Other matters properly before the board.
Nothing besides that we have our next meeting on October 5th, Thursday night. We should be back upstairs for the next meeting. Sorry about that. They're redoing the sound system. I happened to be out the day that they sent the email. Saw the email, but I guess I didn't read what the email actually said. But
Yeah.
please let me know if you can't make the meeting ahead of time. And Michelle, and if you need a Zoom link, always let me know and then. Us.
Nice to be back down here, actually.
We just need one last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And,
We have to assign
this.
plan here.
Yeah, before you leave, sign, but there's been a motion on the floor to adjourn, seconded by Dr. Otto. We need, all of those in favor or not.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Sure, it's not.